I'm Kim with Rodger's Daughter Reads, and I'm back with my May wrap-up. And it's pretty early for me to be doing it, so I'm doing it because I had 2 cancellations today, and so I'm back home in the middle of the day, and we're gonna get her done. We're gonna do it. All right, I read 7 books in May. The first one I read, I do not have in physical copy, and it was Yellowface by R.F. Kuang. I gave this a 3-star rating, which is a good rating for me. Yellowface is about 2 authors, Athena Liu and June Hayward, who later changes her name to June Song to be more Asian sounding, but mainly it's about June. She's friends with this way more popular author, Athena, and they're together one night, and this is not a spoiler. They're hanging out, celebrating, and Athena dies.
What kind of a host invites you to his house for the weekend and dies on you?
June finds her latest masterpiece, it's going to be, and steals it for herself. And that whole book is about the publishing industry. It's supposed to be. But I found it also a bit of a social commentary. In one part, June is not popular on social media, but she starts following these new trends, and then everyone starts to follow her. And we see that, I think R.F. Kuang did that beautifully, because we do see people who are following certain things and posting about certain things, even if they don't care at all, just to be popular. And then it becomes this huge firestorm. And she rests up on that precipice built up on all of these social media issues, these really left-leaning issues that she gets into, and she clearly doesn't care, but she knows that's what's in right now. That's what's popular, that's what's accepted in our culture, and dissenting voices are not.
My Jeep is totaled. In about 5 minutes, everything I own in the world is going to be wet, so can you lighten up, please? I really don't have the time.
So she learns what to do to be popular, and she writes what she thinks people will like, and those issues become her issues. So we don't even know who June really is. She steals the manuscript. I'm not going to tell you whether she gets away with it or not. You'll have to read it, but it's a stressful ride to read. You are at every turn thinking there's no way she's going to do that. There's no way, but she does. She absolutely does. Don't be surprised at June. Okay, so I wrote here in my notes, there's so much here about this liberal chaos and dog eat dog and having these causes and cancellations and hatred. It was disturbing, and while it wasn't eye-opening, it was affirming, because I believe that's what happens. She writes about this mob of people on the left, and she makes people on the right just caricatures that step in at certain times. She talks about issues that we conflate in the West, which I believe happened because we are typically so safe, and we do have the time and leisure and choices to sit and think and have commentary on social media. We have it so easy, even from just a few generations ago. And you see that here. We have so much time to think about all the things that have happened to us and all the trauma, and we just delve into that and our individualities, the people that we are and what makes us different, and it's just me against you and us against them. And this book highlights that, I think, very well. She also talks about other nations, like the communist issue with China and the one-child policy that they had, where millions of baby girls were killed or forcibly aborted. So she talks about a range. It's not just, oh, the U.S. has all these problems. She talks about other places and their problems as well. So overall, again, 3-star rating. The next book I read, I have talked about forever, and I'm literally sick of talking about it, and I'm sure everyone is sick of hearing about it, from me anyway, and that is Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. It's no surprise, I absolutely hated this. Gave it 1 star, should have DNF'd it. It is about 2 elementary students, then college students, and then adults, Sam and Sadie. They make video games. Some of those things are interesting, a lot. Most of the details are not. They don't communicate. That's the trope. Spoiler alert. If you don't like the miscommunication trope, don't do this. Don't even. I don't know how it got so popular. I'm guessing because it had some buzzwords and some really far left-leaning political issues in it, and those, I think, just like R.F. Kuang is saying from Yellowface, those are the things that are going to get boosted.
You've lost your mind.
100% believe that. All right. The next book I read in May was The Teacher by Frida McFadden.
I'll have what she's having.
Oh, man. I loved this book. It was the last thing I read before my Kindle Unlimited. I gotta get coffee. Hold on. Before my Kindle Unlimited trial ran out. Oh, man. Frida is my girl. She sucks you in from page 1. What are the names of the two people? I know one was Nate. Yeah. The husband is Nate. He's an English teacher. Eve is a math teacher. And then the girl, Addie. Addie is the high school student that she's had a somewhat of a weird relationship thing happening with another teacher. That teacher is now gone from the school. Addie still goes to school, and I don't know how much to tell you and how much not to. There's murder, there's betrayal, lust, being used, all the things that are nasty and bad and make this a high stakes thriller. You really want one particular character to get his comeuppance. There's a female character that has a little comeuppance that she needs to get as well. People in all directions are making bad choices. And this whole book is a ride. It's the fallout of all of these decisions that different people are making, and you just get to view it from the sidelines. It was really good. I gave it 5 stars, if I didn't already say. The Teacher, Frida McFadden. You can't go wrong with a Frida McFadden book. The next book I read was Counting the Cost by Jill Duggar and Derek Dillard, her husband, and the other author is Craig Borlace. Jill is one of the Duggar children. She has had her ups and downs with the family, especially her parents, and she really goes into detail about how her parents did her wrong, but also kind of where they're coming from and how this whole thing with whatever channel that was, TLC, snowballed into what it became, and where their beliefs come from, which is not actually from the Bible per se, but this person interpreting the Bible in a certain way, which made them, I guess, fundamentalists, even though fundamentally none of those things, you know, in the New Testament, I don't know where it comes. I don't know why we're calling it fundamental Christian, because those aren't the fundamentals. I'm confused by that. But nevertheless, it was a short, interesting book. It did keep my interest. She is still a Christian. I was worried about that. I mentioned that in my TBR. I didn't want her to have just gone completely crazy and gone the other way. It seems like if nothing else came out of her childhood, she does have an abiding, continuing, wonderful relationship with Jesus.
Hey, Ray, do you believe in God?
Never met him.
Yeah, well, I do. And I love Jesus' style, you know.
Man, she's scratching my behind right now. I know she doesn't mean to, but that's what she's doing. What do you need? Can I help you? Can I help? You're so pretty. You're so cute. Everybody loves you. Everybody loves my baby girl. Yes, you do. Everybody wants my baby girl. Yeah, but you're mine. The only one you can really see is that one. Mr. I Want to Be on My Own. But this is Miss I Have to Be Touching Someone's Skin. Can you say hi? Hey, boobs. Hey, boo-boos. You cool to see her? She goes on a few mission trips. That's what she's into. That's what she does with her life. And I think he's a lawyer too. Her husband, I could be wrong. Anyway, like I said in my TBR, I don't know why I was interested in that one. I've just heard a lot about it, and it was on Everand, so I read it. What did I give this? I'm sure it was like 3 stars. Yeah, it was 3 stars. The next book I read, this was a reread for me, is A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. Is it Maas? Is it Moss? I don't know. I hear it differently all the time, so I am not sure. But this is the second book in a 5-book series, I believe, 4 or 5 books. And I've read up to the 3rd one, or maybe the 4th one. I don't remember. But this one is before kind of the big, well, Akka War, Wings and Ruin. I always think of that one. Akka War is the war.
Crush your enemies. See them driven before you. and to hear the lamentation of the women.
This is after Under the Mountain, after that whole thing explodes and she's breaking away from one court and joining the next, and you see what her real relationship with Rysand is, and kind of meeting his posse, his people, and experiencing a different life. You also get a little bit more into her sisters and where they've been, and some human queens. I mean, you're just introduced to a lot more characters. And this is a fantasy. And again, I'll say that Sarah J. Maas does this so beautifully because it's not a huge info dump. It's done so well and slowly that you learn who these characters are. For me, there wasn't a lot of confusion. And you never know with fantasy books, with everything just coming so fast and the author needing to lay all this groundwork at the same time that action is going on, and you just take forever, and maybe you're having to take notes and look back at the who's who, and I didn't have to do any of that with this one. I gave it 5 stars again. That's the original rating that I had. Still, I will say that A Court of Thorns and Roses is still my favorite. All right, the next book I read was The Road by Cormac McCarthy. This was a very quick read for me. If you've heard about Cormac McCarthy, what is that book that was a Pulitzer Prize as well? Was it? No Country for Old Men. Some people really hate the grammar or the way he writes. In here, it's just a lack of quotation marks. I really didn't have a hard time getting into this. The writing didn't throw me at all. It's about the journey of a man and his young son in post-apocalyptic America, and it's intense. The apocalypse brings the worst out of people, and I'm sure it keeps the best from coming to the forefront, because you can't just give everything because you're barely scraping by yourself. So you really see the dad in these horrible, hard decisions, and you don't really know what you would do. You can say that you know what you would do, but you don't know until you're there. I love it when an author puts characters, and I've said this before, into really just impossible situations. It's interesting to see what other people would do, or what this character would do. And oh my gosh, it's just emotional even thinking about this book and what happens. So absolutely 100% recommend The Road. 100%. I don't think I'll be watching the movie, although I'm sure everybody loves it. It's got the Lord of the Rings guy in it. I mean, it can't be bad. The Road, Cormac McCarthy, 4 stars. 4 stars. Solid 4 stars. And now to what has to be my favorite book of May. Wait, I gotta check the time, make sure I'm not gonna be late. Okay, we're good. The Maid by Nita Prose. This is a short one. It's a New York Times bestseller, Good Morning America book club. That made me wonder, like, what's in here? Why is this getting boosted? And there are 1 or 2 things, but it was so good overall that I looked past it. There's so much to say about this tiny little book. Let me just tell you about Molly. Molly is the maid. Molly has autism, right? She's on the spectrum. I don't think it ever clearly says that, but you intuit that she obviously is on the spectrum. One of her organizing behaviors is cleaning. She loves to clean. She likes to be alone. She can be around people, but she doesn't really it's not that she doesn't get along with them. She doesn't quite understand what they're saying, like idioms. Like everything is very black and white. She doesn't understand if someone is laughing at her or laughing with her. She doesn't understand facial expressions. That's one of the characteristics, depending on where you are on the spectrum, not being able to read people's faces or understand what they're saying or what their intentions are. So it's easy for someone like Molly to be used, to be abused, to be hurt, and we do see that. And if you're the parent of someone with high functioning autism, this may be hard to read, but always remember that, yeah, there's the worst of humanity, but there's also the best of humanity. And there are people in here that truly care about Molly, like Mr. Preston, I think his name was. He was a friend of Molly's grandma. When we open, Molly has just lost her grandmother. Her mother and father were never in her life. She only had her grandmother. And as she's going through her day and she doesn't understand some things, she will think back to things that her grandmother said to her and little lessons. Let me see if I can quickly find something that she remembers and she'll say again, like, we're all entitled to a bad day now and again. I don't think I'll keep, they're in the UK. They're in like England, so, or Wales, I don't know. We're all entitled to a bad day now and again. I heard Gran say in my head. But her grandmother will just remind her in her head of things like, they're not laughing at you, Molly, they're laughing with you. Or, no one is too high or too low for common courtesy. Just every few pages, there's something that Gran has told her. Oh, here's one. When all else fails, tidy up. So as you're going through, don't let them push your buttons. You're getting to know Gran too, who was a wonderful person and loved Molly completely. And she taught Molly about faces, and she kept telling Molly, every day, every new situation is an opportunity for you. And when Molly would feel scared, anxious, she would think back to what Gran would say. It would calm her. So even though she lost her grandmother, she had all of those decades of learning and love that her gran gave to her. So when Molly is in this terrible situation that she gets herself into, she has her gran to fall back on. But also there are other people in her life at the hotel that they all work in that care about her, that understand her, and see her through it. So it is a murder mystery. There's a detective in here that is gunning for someone that you don't want them to be gunning for. There's a love interest or 2 or 3 here. Molly gets herself into some big trouble, and you fall in love with her. I fell in love with Molly. I love her friends. Her friends became my friends. I just loved that book. I would recommend, I should probably still hold it up since I'm still talking about it. I would recommend The Maid to anyone. I think I gave this one a 5 stars. It's worth all of the hype, especially if you're interested at all, or if you have someone in your life who has autism and you love them dearly. If you yourself feel like you're on the spectrum too, and it's possible to have some of these characteristics and not be on the spectrum, right? I mean, to a different and lesser extent, but you can possibly see yourself in Molly and maybe learn some things from Gran, right? That you need to remind yourself of. If you didn't have anyone telling you things like, you can do it, you can do hard things. It's an opportunity. I know it's scary, but it's an opportunity to grow. If you didn't have someone telling you that, or if you did and you remember those things and you'll remember them forever, either way, you will love the teachings from Gran and how Molly just buckled down and got to work and thought about her lessons and moved on. It's just, I think it's very hopeful for anyone on the spectrum or the family of people on the spectrum to go, okay, you don't naturally understand faces, but you can learn. You can learn and you can practice, and every day is full of practice opportunities for you. So it's going to be okay. And I just think Nita Prose did this beautifully. Anyway, thank you for joining me. I hope you, all 43 of you, and everyone else had a wonderful reading month. But keep reading, keep enjoying your reading, get excited about reading, and have a lovely June wherever you are, and God bless. Bye.